Hello, class. I hope you all had a fantastic day today so far, the beginning of the day. And I hope that you're staying a little bit cool. I've had to freeze my house at night, that's what they call it. It's when you leave windows open, not technically all night, but once the sun goes down, kind of open up some windows. And then once I go to bed, close those windows, but trap all that cold air so it freezes the house overnight. And then that way the house stays kind of cool throughout the day. I mean, right now, of course, it's starting to heat up. But that way I don't have to use as much air conditioning, save some money, things like that. But what is this a sign of? Even though it might already feel like it, it is a sign of we're moving into summertime. So, for today I have a class, and it is on summer gardening tips. So, for those of you, so it's a gardening class, but it's about just what to do during the summer to keep your garden going. And this way, once summer hits, you'll know exactly what we should do. So it's kind of a basic to-do list. So these are tricks to keeping midsummer gardening going full tilt. By now you should have harvested some goodies. So depending on what you've been growing during the springtime, but to keep your vegetable plants healthy, finish up that harvest strong, and start new plantings for fall. So here is the list. So firstly, you don't want to let weeds take over. Why? Because, well, what they do is they choke out all the other plants, and we don't want that to happen. But weeding and thinning should be at the top of your to-do list. Plants can't grow well if they are being crowded out, and weeds are especially tough competitors. It's true. I found a couple of weeds that were really tall that I had to take out. And you don't want them to seed anywhere else, because, once they come to seed, the wind blows and they scatter everywhere, and then it kind of messes with neighbors' gardens and everything like that. So take a half an hour each morning while it is cool outside to pull any weeds that have invaded your garden. You can attack it methodically row by row, or go for the big guys first and work your way down to the smaller offenders. If you keep at it, eventually there will be a few or no weeds left, at which point you can easily keep up with newly emerging ones. That is easier said than done. I don't know, put it on your schedule or something. I try, and then life happens, it stops, and then I don't really catch up very well. Thin out plantings. So if you started earlier midsummer plantings of beets or carrots, it's time to give them room for the big roots. So try spacing 2 finger widths between plants. Eat any tiny carrots that have formed. They are especially sweet and good in salad. And beet greens are delicious and full of nutrients. Next, you want to fertilize for a boost. And there's all sorts of fertilizer you can use. But plants, like people, not only need they don't only need to drink water, but also eat for nourishment. By now, their soil may be getting depleted of nutrients. So give plants a mid-season feeding by side dressing with compost or aged manure, or give them a drink of liquid emulsion fertilizer or manure tea when you water. So there are all sorts of things out there that you can do, like if you water your plants by hand, you just put a little bit of this stuff in and you just kind of mix it in with the water, and then you pour that into the plant, and it will give the plant lots of nutrients. And then there's also Double D, which is kind of a double manure of different types of manure. I know it's gross sounding, but it really helps the plants grow. And it doesn't smell as bad as you think. Okay, now here's a tough one. And I have a second part to this class, which we'll do all in a row here. But watering is critical. So watering is critical, and because we're in a drought, This is why. This is a tricky one, which we'll get into for this next part. Watering is critical in mid and late summer when the heat is on high. Put out a rain gauge to determine just how much water you are getting from those thunderstorms, which we're not getting. I mean, we've gotten a few. 1 to 2 inches a week is optimum. If you're not getting that much rainfall, it is time to do some deep watering yourself. So it says to dig down about 6 inches and see how dry the soil is at that level. That is where most of your plant roots are, and this is where the water needs to be. Sprinkling the leaves is not going to be very beneficial. Soaker hoses are best, otherwise you will have to spend some time watering each plant. Water gently to allow the water to soak in and not run off. So again, it's kind of a tough thing. But a rain gauge would not be a bad idea to see just what your soil level is, or even to bring it out to see what kind of the moisture is at night. Because I mean, every day I wake up, I come out to my car, and it's got dew all over it. So there is still some moisture getting into the soil. So to reduce them, this is good. To reduce the amount of water, the amount you need to water, consider mulching around your plants, which will help to keep down the weeds and keep soil moisture from evaporating too quickly. So straw, grass clippings, pine needles, and that's a little bit of a fire hazard, shredded leaves, and even newspaper or cardboard also works really well, will help to suppress weeds. And then now is the time you want to, once summertime officially hits, which is at the end of this month, plant new vegetables. So planting a new round of crops will help keep your garden productive into the fall. Remove any spring crops that have gone to that big farm in the sky and plant some new vegetables in that space. Interesting choice of words. Pay close attention to all the fall frost from your area if you want to replant with tender, warm weather crops like beans or cucumbers, which do really well right now. Otherwise, stick to frost-handy fall crops such as broccoli, kale, bok choy, carrots, beets, radishes, turnips, spinach, and peas. And this is just for the edible stuff. And lettuce doesn't like to germinate in hot soil, so start the seeds inside somewhere where it is cooler, and then transplant them outside under the shade of taller plants to keep the lettuce from bolting. And you'll know when something is bolted. I think I've showed it before, but it'll start to grow, and when it gets too much sun, it'll just kind of break off, and it's bolted. It's like, I'm going over here. I'm grown, and I'm going to go over here. But then you need to trim that back. So it is really good for right now, because then during the fall, when the fall hits and it likes that cooler soil, then you're going to have really lush lettuce. But start it inside. It is also time to scout for pests, different kinds of pests. So scouting for insect pests, the unwanted visitors, frequently will help keep you ahead of any population explosions of garden destroyers. So there are good things out there. You know, worms, we definitely want things that help till the soil for us. But be sure to check under the underside of leaves, where most pests like to hide to lay their eggs. Many bugs like to sleep in, so you can often catch them in the morning when they are still groggy. And knock them off into a bucket of soapy water to their sudsy demise. Oh, so mean. But it's true. You do want to kind of knock them off, and you don't want to just knock them off and then let them hit the ground and be like, well, I'm going to just crawl right back up there. So staking will help keep fruits up off the ground, making them less susceptible to soil-borne diseases and easier to pick. And it says here to harvest often. Harvesting often will help keep your plants flowering and producing more fruit. Beans especially benefit from frequent picking. Harvest tomatoes as they ripen for the best flavor. Pick zucchini and cucumbers while they're still small to avoid dealing with huge seedy fruits, which I've ended up with many times. Just huge ones. And if you If you find that you are inundated with more produce than you can handle, please pass some of the bounty along to friends, neighbors, or your local food pantry. Now, what about flowers and ornamentals? While you're at it, don't forget ornamentals need some attention too. So add, which my stepdad is doing, he's deadheading a lot of his flowers. So add deadheading, weeding, and stocking tall floppy plants, deep watering, fertilizers, and renewing mulch in your flower beds to your to-do list. Mowing and edging around garden beds will keep the yard looking spiffy if you have grass. Any plants growing in containers need special care since they dry out quickly in hot weather. Frequent watering washes nutrients out of the soil, so use a liquid fertilizer when you water. Yeah, if you just water, there's a lot of nutrients in soil that you're washing away, and then the plants aren't getting those nutrients. So use liquid fertilizer when you water, or scratching a slow release fertilizer to keep your container plants growing and hanging baskets blooming. And then lastly, for this one, practice gardening self-care. Finally, take care of yourself as well. Work outside during the cooler hours of the day to survive the great heat and humidity, and make sure you drink plenty of water too. If you'll be doing a lot of weeding, put down a padded cushions to kneel or bring a small stool along. There's a lot to keep up with it, but it's well worth it when you proudly enjoy your fruits and vegetables of your labor and the annuals. Okay, so I'm going to switch over, and really quickly, it should only take maybe 2 to 3 minutes, and we'll talk about ways to help with watering. Okay, so like I said, for this part, we're going to look at learn some simple habits to help reduce water use outside your home. Because we're in a drought, we really need to cut all of our stuff back at least 10% per household to get us through this drought, and it's a really bad drought. So here are some ways that we can do things and not overwater during the drought and still maybe have some plants, things looking good. So number 1, use water-wise plants. So check with your local water agency on the best plants for your area. It is best to use water-wise California native plants when possible. So that's tip number 1. Number 2, reimagine your yard. Feed your vegetables and fruits water first because they feed you. Water-wise plants and shade trees use little or no water once established. Thirsty plants such as lawn and container plants are the lowest priority. Okay, so again, container plants, lowest priority. We don't water that often here. Honestly, they don't need it that much. They want more sunlight, and being inside, they're pretty happy. Use drought-resistant trees and plants. So using drought-resistant plants and trees can save 30 to 60 gallons per 1,000 square feet each time. So again, looking at what you're planting is very important. Next is to adjust your sprinkler heads and fix leaks. It saves 12 to 15 gallons each time you water, and a leak about as small as the tip of a ballpoint pen can waste about 6,300 gallons of water per month. That's a lot. Install drip irrigation. This is, some of these are cost effective, some not so much. But if you can, install drip irrigation and add a smart controller. Installing a drip irrigation system and smart controller can save 15 gallons each time you water. So it just kind of drips in there, and it doesn't need just a big soaking or anything like that. Use a broom to clean outdoor areas. Using a broom to clean outdoor areas can save 6 gallons every minute. So don't spray things down. Just get a big push broom and push dirt around that way and just sweep it up. And then if you have to mow, set mower blades to 3 inches. Setting mower blades to 3 inches encourages deeper roots and saves 16 to 15 gallons per day. This is a lot of gallons of water that we can be saving. And use mulch. Using mulch can save 20 to 30 gallons of water per 1,000 square feet each time you water. So again, we talked about mulching, the different things that can be mulched. There's newspaper, there's clippings, there's cardboard, there's all sorts. Just look up mulching online, see what's best, but pick really drought resistant plants, things like that, to help keep us through this drought. Anyway, I hope you're all having a wonderful day. I hope you get out and garden a bit and stay water wise. And I will see you all soon. And of course, any questions, comments, if you know anything more that we can do about how to help with the drought, please let me know. And I'll do a class on it and see if we can't get going with that. Okay, have a great day, y'all. I'll see you next time.